Okay, today on the show, we have Amy Duong Kim from Duong Kim Global at Compass. Amy, who is senior broker and founding member of Duong Kim Global, is an alumni of the University of Illinois here in Illinois, in Champaign, with a bachelor's of science, when I find this very interesting, in actuarial science. Prior to a
Yes.
real estate career, she worked as an actuarial consultant. Now, Amy's ability to adapt quickly to the real estate market has allowed her to take each opportunity as a learning moment, ultimately creating a stepping stone that really helped accelerate her career. She has been able to help many people find and sell their homes and is also extremely proficient on the commercial side. Now, Amy's experience really does speak for itself. I'm going to read off some accolades. She's too humble to talk about, but I will brag for her because these are great and really impressive. She's been acknowledged by the Chicago Association of Realtors, also Chicago Agent Magazine, Jameson Sotheby's International, and has tons and tons of five-star reviews from clients. She's also won 2 Chicago Agent Who's Who's Awards and has been featured in Time Out Chicago, Chicago Tribune, Curbed, Yahoo, Wall Street Journal, ABC News, and The Today Show with NBC. So we are so thrilled to welcome Amy Duong Kim to the podcast. Also, please visit Amy's website at Duong Kim Global. That's DUONG kimglobal.com, and also follow her on Instagram at Duong Kim Global. We'll be posting those links as well. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Well,
It's so
we're happy to have you, and thank you for doing this. I was actually a podcast guest myself yesterday on a show, and I am never a podcast guest, and it was really uncomfortable. So
really?
I have a renewed appreciation for what it's like to be a guest. Now, you've been on a million shows, so this is no big deal to you, but I was surprised how nervous I got, because normally I get to like be in control and ask the questions. But I would love to introduce you to our listeners. A lot of people here in the Chicago market, everyone knows you here, but we have listeners from all over the country. Tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate. Your background was in some actuarial science. So how did you make that change?
Yes. I loved actuarial work actually. I just unfortunately wasn't very good at it. So, so when I was looking for a career change, I actually had received an offer at Deloitte and Touche to go
Yeah.
consulting, and I'd be doing something a little bit different, data mining. So, but my brother actually had said, why don't you just get your real estate license? Just have it handy just in case any of your friends needs to buy a
Very
home.
smart.
And I took my license. I quit my job. I was about to take this amazing offer at Deloitte and Touche, and I walk in after I just gotten my license, and I was going to hand it into my brother, who was my managing broker for a while. And a client walked in, and he had said, I'm looking to sell my home and buy another home. So I wanted to see if you guys could help me. I work down the block. I've seen your office. And my brother said, why don't you just take this client? So I sold his house in a week. Back then, 15
That's
years ago.
incredible.
Yeah, I would have to have my own camera, so 15 years ago, and then figure out how to use the MLS and stuff like that. And so I sold his house in a week, and then I helped him buy another house the next week. And I was like, man, this is the easiest job ever.
People just walk in and give you 2 transactions.
I know. So I'm just gonna do this. I mean, I'm not gonna go back to an office job. And obviously I realized this job is not like that. So
Yeah, sort of the irony of the consultant's life, where if you were traveling to clients and doing that Monday to Thursday thing and then flying home you're actually working more than they probably were.
oh, totally, yeah. And I mean, it's just like getting when you golf, right? And then you get that magical hole in one, and then
Yeah.
you're stuck with that with that hobby because you just want that to happen again. So
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
I felt. But I got suckered in.
That's amazing. What a great story. And also, well, let's talk about, your first year. And obviously you had some immediate success, which is incredible. But after that, I imagine had to really start to build a business, essentially from scratch, right?
Oh, totally. It was all from scratch. We had a boutique brokerage, and everything was just done differently back then. A lot of faxing. I kind of denied having a smartphone for so long. Had my little tom-tom to tell me where to go. So, but the goal actually was never to be a top producer. I just wanted to like pay the bills and hang out with my friends. Little did I know that like all my socializing was a lot of networking, and that was super helpful in building our business. And ultimately, and I keep this motto still, is I try to treat every deal like it's my own. And if I continue to do that, I really can't really mess up too much. Or, I know that this is the largest purchase for any person. And, when listings accumulate market time, I know that someone has to pay those bills. So it's, if I always keep that in mind when I'm working. And because of that, it led to the amount of deals we do. But I wouldn't necessarily say that was the initial goal.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when we talk to top producers on the show, they often don't speak about, well, here's my production goals, or here's the
Mm-hmm.
number of transactions I want to complete. They oftentimes talk about these fundamentals, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
if all I did was treat every single deal as if it were my most important deal, and in your case, my own
Mm-hmm.
deal, then maybe that's all I really have to do. Because if
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm doing, that's more than self going to create raving fans, I imagine.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to read my reviews. Some clients leave very long reviews, which I totally appreciate. I love. And then we become really good friends actually afterwards. And I kind of am like an open book. I have pictures of my kids. I have a video if you go to my website, like about us. And I always say you should pick a realtor who you feel most comfortable with and trust. Because it's we're working together for the same goal. Yes, I'm working for you, but it's really a collaboration.
Yeah, I'd like to reference the video that Amy's talking about. If you go to her website, which is again duongkimglobal.com, she has a really impressive intro video on the right when you open up her webpage. And what it does so eloquently and elegantly is tell the story of who Amy is. And it's not a self-congratulatory type of video, which a lot of realtors do those types. It's very much like, here's what I'm all about. Here's the personal side of me. Here's the professional side. It's a really great model for anyone out there who's thinking about having one of these videos made. Is, I would say, do one just like Amy's, because
Oh,
it's
thank
it's
you.
just it's one of the best I've ever seen, and
Oh,
it
thanks.
also grabs you emotionally, because it tells the story of a bit of your family, your parents in particular, and I think that is, people love to hear how you came to be in the business, and what
Mhm.
your values are, and I think that you did a good job on that. So
Oh, thank
everyone
you.
everyone listening, go check it out and make something similar. Tell your story. And then so you started working with your brother, you started
Mhm.
building your business, and then talk about that, like what really worked for you. I know it's been some time since you started, but talk
Mhm.
about what really worked for you back then. What was helpful, what, maybe if there were things that didn't work, what did you find most useful?
So I started back in 2005, which was really the height of the market.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I kind of think we're going through that right now, is that a lot of the top producers are getting a lot of the business. And it was actually really hard for me to gain business. So really, I didn't become, I guess, the Chicagoland's top producer uh, volume wise until after 2008 when the market crashed. Because I was working so hard to try to get clients from 2005 to 2008, I really didn't see anything in fruition. And again, that goes back to building a pipeline, but I didn't really see that fruition until after 2008. And back then, learning how to deal with short sales and dealing with foreclosures. I didn't necessarily work with REOs, but I learned how to win deals from doing short sales and foreclosures. And it's really going back to like being able to pivot
Yeah.
and adapt to a new environment. So So I think that was the 2005 to 2008 was really just kind of like prepping me to hustle afterwards.
Yeah, and then everything changed, right?
Mhm.
And then you did have to pivot, and thankfully you were able to do that. A lot of people exited the business back then
Mhm.
because it was so challenging, and
Totally.
the halcyon days were over, or the salad days were over, whatever the expression is, and all of a sudden it became challenging.
Mhm.
And so you dealt with short sales, foreclosures, and then just can you talk a little bit about that transition and how that changed? Did your clientele change? Did the people you service change?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in 2005, I have to really think very hard because it was a while ago.
Yeah,
Back in
sure.
2005 and 2008, it was really like my friends. And
Sure.
then, I think Yelp and Zillow and all those websites started rolling out. So then I was like, well, let me give like reviews a try and get my clients and past clients to write reviews about me. So then that kind of started. So I was an early adopter, I would say, of that. And then now we're kind of going through another transition. Like now we have to, people have been using Instagram for a while for work, and before Instagram it was Facebook. So it's again just adapting to where those clients are and figuring out how to make the tools that they're using screen, like where what they're looking at, to kind of gravitate towards you.
And I also know that you work with investors as well. When did that start to enter your business? Was that right away, or was that sort of later on in the career?
It was later on in the career. So what I love about the fact that even though I was a pretty bad actuary, I did get a lot of math experience and just a lot of analytical skills. So they're actually excellent for real estate. And because of that, I had a kind of very uh, distinct ability and natural ability to kind of find investment properties for clients. And then roll that in with the fact that I had my first child. More power to those women who are, or it could be spouses who are stay at home, but I just could not. So I really needed to focus on work. I could not wait until our nanny started so I could go back to work. But so with that, I feel like that was like another milestone. 2008, kind of adapting. But after that, in 2012, when my daughter was born, that's really when I was like, you know what, I had to learn to be efficient. I need to learn how to put processes in my system. I need to figure out how I can work when I'm not hanging out with my baby. And that came the whole investors situation where I was working with clients who were awake in the middle of the night, and that was in Asia or in Europe, because I had to be awake
You
to
were
meet
awake
them.
in the middle of the night too.
I was
Yeah.
awake in the middle of the night, so I have like literally every app known to man. Kakao Talk, WhatsApp, GroupMe. So I have to look check all these different chats to talk to some of my clients. So, but it was really interesting to be able to do something that a lot of people weren't necessarily trying. So, and we do speak several different languages in our team, so that has been super helpful too.
By the way, you guys speak 6 different languages on your team. It's absolutely incredible. So this is also a very smart thing because, again, investors can be global, right? Worldwide.
Oh,
And
totally.
Amy wants to be able to support them. It's funny. I think there's a lot of realtors who are listening right now, but probably thinking, well, I don't have any international investor clients. And
Hmm.
what I have heard from dozens and dozens and dozens of brokers who work with investors who are top agents is they say, don't worry about the investor, find the deal. Find the deal, and the investors will find you. The hard part is finding the deal. The easy part's the investor.
Oh,
In other
totally.
words, there's always money around. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you need to be well knowledged about your area, what you're speaking of. I mean, Chicago is the only metropolitan city in the United States that we can get a possibility of at least, I would say 6% cap rate, in many
Yeah.
neighborhoods. LA, you can't do that. San Francisco, New York, the
Right.
entry level for Chicago is considerably low. I mean, we can get in at a multi-unit as low as $400,000. I mean, it's gonna have a little quirkiness, but that's virtually impossible in other areas. And we have United States has freehold, so a lot of countries do not have freehold, and that's owning your own property. I don't know the real, like, the true definition, so you may have to Google it, but like that you own your property, where if there's eminent domain, then the government
Yeah.
has to pay
Right.
you for that. So but you guys have to check that technical stuff, okay? But we have freehold in the United States, where other countries do not have freehold. So there's like a lot of advantages of owning not only property in the United States, but property actually in the Chicagoland area. So when you know that information and know exactly where those deals are, you have to find the property and let them know about it. So totally, I totally agree with that.
And a lot of times those properties never hit the MLS, or
Mhm.
they hit the MLS and they're snapped up pretty quickly. So you have to get really creative. And so for anyone listening who's thinking, well, how do I start to learn? I always suggest, if you're really interested in learning about investment opportunities, go to biggerpockets.com. It's probably the single greatest resource for real estate investors, and they'll start you on your education. But there's lots of wonderful meetups, and investors love to talk about investments. So you can
Mhm.
find all these other like-minded realtors or just investors, and start to talk about some of these some of the actuarial part of it, and running the numbers and finding those opportunities.
Totally. I mean, I feel like I look at for pockets all day long. I actually tell clients, I'm not going to look at the MLS for you. You could totally do that yourself on Zillow
Yeah,
or
right.
and
Yeah,
Compass or whatever website that's on the public market. I'm going to just focus on the listings that are not on the MLS.
yeah. Well, and that makes you really valuable to people too, because you're right. The MLS used to be behind lock and key. That hasn't been the case for a long time
No.
now, where
Yeah.
everyone has access, whether you have a realtor or not. And so now, yeah, being able to provide additional value, especially on the investment side. Do you prefer working with investors, or do you like working with traditional buyers and sellers as well? I assume you do everything.
Yeah, we do everything. I think it depends. I still like the emotional part
Yeah.
of a home purchase. I love being able to be part of that next life or next chapter. So I still enjoy that too. So it really and honestly it just depends on the client. Like most of my clients are very like-minded like me, so they really think the same way, which I really love. That's actually
Sure.
why my bio starts out with the fact that I was an actuary, because I think I gravitate towards clients who are like traders and in the finance field. They're just very analytical. So it's helpful to have clients that are very similar to how I work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about what's going on right now in obviously all of us across not just this country, but globally are dealing with this pandemic. And we're here in Chicago. We're under a stay-at-home order. We
Mhm.
thankfully real estate is still considered an essential business, so we're able
Yes.
to do some things. We had one of our agents at our firm yesterday. Oh, actually, all of them are doing this now, but this is the first I've heard of it because I don't pay that much attention. But she was like, oh, I just had my first drive up closing, where she had to stay
Mhm.
in her car, but she got the closing done. And that's obviously our world right now. What are you doing, or what? Yeah, I would love to know what you're doing to stay busy and continue
Mhm.
on with your business.
Well, we have always implemented technology in our listings anyways, so it actually wasn't too difficult to transition to what's going on right now. If people have not started virtual tours, I highly suggest to have your listings go on virtual tour. There are opportunities to do, if you can't afford that, then even just making a video and then doing reverse prospecting and emailing it to those agents, I think it's something that you could do and be proactive about. If we have the ability where we have some listings that are currently vacant and staged,
Sure.
we will offer the lockbox, and we'll make sure that there's no showings within 3-hour time periods of each other. And we'll turn on all the lights beforehand so nobody has to touch anything. So we are trying to be very, of course, keep business going, because that's the best thing we could do right now as well. But be responsible and stay safe and do our social distancing. So, but yeah, I mean, I think video, virtual tours are things that we could be doing right now, and really just staying in touch with your clients. Not, I already was great at continuing my pipeline anyways, but even more so right now. So staying top of mind to those clients is always important to do, and even more so right now.
Yeah, I've been thinking, and we've been talking to a lot of top agents who has said this is the great opportunity for them to reconnect or deepen the relationships they have with their sphere of influence, and
Hmm.
just even reaching out to let people know you're thinking about them or that you care about them, and checking in to
Hmm.
see how they're doing. We're all in this together, and so everybody's scared. Everyone's, there's economic concerns, obviously job
Hmm.
security. A lot of people are. This is a tough time, and so I've been hearing from a lot of our agents and people on the show here that this is a great time just to reach out and make people feel a little less alone. And that when this all returns to normal, hopefully as soon as possible, I think those activities are going to reap amazing dividends. They're going to be like, wow, my realtor really cares about me.
Oh,
And
totally.
yeah. Um, yeah.
And I
So
think it's a good way
go
to
ahead.
like create new systems too. I mean, I love my Peloton, so if anybody wants to follow me on Peloton too, Amy Duong Kim. So it actually like has given me the opportunity to like figure out a new schedule, which I actually love, to make sure that I focus on my health too. So that actually has been really rewarding as well.
Yeah, it's a great time to develop better habits, right? And whether you're doing Peloton or you're just cranking out push-ups on your floor, whatever it is, like now's the time to start doing that, because
Mhm.
those habits just again yield amazing rewards down the road. And we're all cooped up inside, and our physical health is often neglected. I know for me, I neglect it quite a bit. So now it's like, okay, I can either veg out on junk food and television over the next month or two, which is fine if that's what I choose to
Mhm.
do, but I would be a little happier with myself if I ate well and maybe turned off the television and cranked out some exercises that and thankfully, in Chicago, you can still walk around a little bit, so you can get out of the house from time to time. Other places, it's not as convenient to do that. But yeah, to talk about, I would love to talk to you about current listings. So we talked about
Yes,
this a bit offline,
totally.
and I ran some numbers on the Chicago MLS, and let's see. I just want to get the number right. So I was looking at temporarily no showings and
Mhm.
cancellations, and I was looking at just the last 16 days versus a year ago, and it appears that we are up in temps and cancellations 58% in Chicago. Probably no surprise, but can you talk a little bit about what you're currently doing with your listings and what you're telling sellers and buyers to just let them know sort of what's going on?
Sure. So I think the first important question to ask is if the property is occupied, if they even feel comfortable with showings.
Right.
Because personally, I don't know if I would be. It really just depends on that situation of that seller, right? And so that's probably the first question. The second question is, just really figure out what, if you have everything to be able to do a safe social distancing showing. So we offer gloves to our clients and booties. I'm in the process of making masks, but I'm a very bad seamstress, so I don't
Oh, you're
know.
making them yourself. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, because they're like low supply right now.
Yeah, right.
So, and I do have a sewing machine, but it. We'll see what they look like at the end of it. So, but we do have gloves. We bring disinfectant wipes, hand sanitizer. Like you got to bring all of this for your own safety too. But for the people that are live there and the people who are going to see the property. If it's vacant, it's obviously even better. We do try to get there beforehand to turn on lights, but we do, and sometimes we just sit outside in the car while they do the showing, and then
Sure.
we close up afterwards for them. So we want to provide them access, but keep though we would love to show the property personally, but just during these times we just cannot. Of course, beforehand we always offer virtual tours, and like every photo that we have imaginable for, we usually put only like 40 photos in our MLS, but we have, I don't know, 60 or 100 depending on what property it is. So, and beforehand we give it to the agent so they can send it to their clients so they can see everything and floor plans and all that stuff. So but I think that people should leave their listings active. There's a lot of buyers out there that are a little too nervous, and rightly so, or afraid to go out, but they're still looking, you know, and they're still looking, they're still active. I think maybe it was a NAR statistic that people are looking for a home 19% more on the internet than they were even before, and that was already a lot
Sure.
before. So if you do, the only way to be able for clients and buyers to see that is if you are active. So if you have the opportunity to do it, I actually think it's good to do it. And if they are willing to do a showing, I mean, they got to be pretty serious. You know, they're not just like, hey, I'm bored this afternoon to go see a place. Like they
Right.
are very serious about looking for a property. So and that's how all my buyers actually are. They're like, you know, they don't necessarily want to go out, but they have to go out. They don't want to be homeless. So I mean, there is still a need for homes. Everybody needs to live somewhere.
Yeah. And I think I'm very curious to see, and I don't know that there will be any really way to chart the stats on this, but I'll be very curious to see how many people, once the stay-at-home ban is lifted and we're all back to normal, how many people upgrade to a bigger living space. I'd be very curious, because I'll bet you there's a tremendous number of people who are thinking, gosh, I need more space.
Oh,
Um, be-
totally.
yeah, I know I've started to feel that way in my own place. It's like, maybe I need a bigger place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know. I
so now,
totally agree with you on that. I think two things are going to happen. They're going to possibly look at a different floor plan, and then also, you know, rethink their financial situation, just like they did back in '08. And, you know, I don't want to say they'll reduce their house payment or like the budget, but I also think that they're going to be a little bit more conservative and see if that will still work within, like if they get what they want, being a little bit more conservative in their budget.
well,
So
and I think you're probably right. And then also, rates are so low right now where money is very cheap.
yes.
And so, yeah, so people are still looking.
Oh, people are
Um,
still looking, and I think that they think it's a great opportunity as well, too. So because the economy is, you know, uncertain at this point, but anybody who has been doing this for a while knows that, you know, again, everybody needs a home. Everybody needs a place to live. So
yeah. I've been wondering too about on the commercial side, if I wonder if there'll be a lot of businesses that once we come out the other side on this, go, you know, we spend a lot of money on office space, and you know, maybe we could do more virtual stuff. And so I wonder if the commercial world will shift, but the residential world is, everyone still needs, like you said, everyone needs to live somewhere.
yes,
So great
yeah,
opportunities.
I do think it will be commercial real estate will be adjusted differently. So that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk, you talked about technology, and this is a really cool thing, because now today, it probably doesn't seem like that big a deal, but the fact that you were doing this years ago is so impressive to me, is that you've closed deals on FaceTime.
Mhm,
And again, now everyone's using FaceTime, Zoom,
mhm,
Google Hangouts, et cetera, because we have to. But 4 years ago, we didn't have to, and you were
yes.
still utilizing that technology. Can you mind sharing that with our
Of
audience?
course, yeah. So I have clients who have seen property or who have bought property sight unseen. I have clients who I've never met before, actually, physically, that we've only talked on the phone and whatnot. So it was something that we've been utilizing for quite some time now, at least. I don't know, for like probably when since video started, we've been doing it. So I mean, it is an inundation of information as much as you can, because I want them to feel comfortable as well. So we probably go kind of crazy with when we do showings, the amount of video, photography, like photos that we take, literally down to like doorknobs to make
But
sure that,
people care about doorknobs. They really do. So that's really smart. I mean,
yeah.
we can joke about it, but it's actually a really smart thing. People want to see the hardware on the kitchen
Uh-huh.
appliance or the kitchen cabinets and bathrooms, and they want to see doorknobs too. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then like lots of measuring for them. But yeah, just every, especially so for a condo when it's going to be their residential. I'm thinking of one in particular was an adorable 2-bedroom condo. She had to travel all the time for work. She was coming from New York, but she goes internationally all the time. So, and she had no time to come here to buy a place. So every showing was just FaceTime and lots of videos and lots of phone calls because when we were under contract, she was in Africa. So so it was really just adapting to what we could do with what the technology that we had. So and she's happy, and we were actually texting each other making sure everything's okay with each other. But you know, that is, we have the so much power in technology right now that it, you know, there really shouldn't be an excuse as to why someone shouldn't be comfortable with purchasing a home, whether during this pandemic or, you know, working with clients internationally.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's such great advice, is just to utilize the technology that exists, and you don't have to have a million platforms. But you know, right now, like how many photos do you take for each listing? Well, Amy does a ton of photos for each listing
Hmm.
because she never knows that somebody might be making their decisions solely based on the imagery, because maybe they're not able to physically come to, you know, the location. So I think that is really actually great advice. Can you tell us a little bit about your group? I feel like we've talked a lot about you, but tell us a little bit about the group that you've built and your team.
Sure. Well, I work with my husband. He and I are partners. We started working together when we actually just shortly after we got married. So I suppose that I was always on the forefront, and he was helping. I'm a very disorganized person. I may seem like I'm not, but I'm very disorganized. So my husband is the very organized one. He's actually one of the reasons why we have a business the way we do. Is, you know, you gotta have, I you know, I was always great about being in front of clients and knowing things about real estate, but he was always the closer, like the one that finished everything from executed contract to close.
Sure.
So and then building a great team in sense of not only the agents that you work with, but having a fantastic inspector, having a fantastic attorney. You know, this is how to help. Having an awesome lender, like having these really great partners really also assisted us and supported us to build our business even further. So what my brother is on my team, so he was, you know, we had our boutique brokerage from before. I felt like and our brokerage was great, but I just felt like I was just running a business and not necessarily selling. So
Right.
we really took the decision to move to a larger brokerage and really focus on, and that was one of the reasons why we were able to build our business to what it is right now. One of my best friends is on my team, and she was my client, turned into a realtor. I mentor her. She's doing awesome. Another person I met on a mommy play date. Had just got her license, and she, you know, wanted some supplemental income, and she's doing awesome. So all our team members are very organic, and the goal is, we have other Eva, Anastasia, Malcolm. We have an awesome transaction coordinator, Vanessa. So I really feel like it's important to have different types of personalities in our team. We don't want to grow our team to this crazy amount because I want to always be a part of their, you know, process and know about their deals. And, you know, there's only so much time in the day, right?
Sure.
And the goal is that we all become $20 million producers. That's the goal, is that, you know, I'm helping them figure out it's really trying to keep them accountable and push them to the next level. And once they get to there, how can I assist them even more? So, you know, I always say, whoever we interview with or who we ever take a meeting with, just so you know, if you join on, you're on forever. You can't leave.
I did an interview with a broker in the suburbs a couple of years ago. I apologize, I'm forgetting her name, but she said the funniest thing. She goes, she's a $50 million producer, and she said when she brings on team members, she goes, look, I'm the nicest person in the world, but if you just do everything I tell you to do, you will be a top producer within like 3 or 4 years. She goes,
Yes.
but you have to do what I tell you, because I promise you I know the path. And so she was very funny about it. But I would love to know, what, right now with everyone staying at home, we know, you mentioned what you're doing. How are you helping your team, or what are you telling them to do to stay busy? Maybe people who aren't as seasoned as you or who are newer to the business.
Yeah, the same thing that we're talking about. Stay top of mind with your clients. Just like pick up the phone or text. I'm sending them like Zoom seminars and like webinars and educational things up the wazoo. So, and they're sending it back to us too, like different ones that they found in their own spheres. So, Anastasia just sent one that was pretty awesome. So just learning, taking this time to learn. We're really upping our social media presence, I think, is pretty good, but we're really revamping a lot of our listing presentations and the collateral and our bios, and this is our time to kind of revise everything. I actually do all of this usually in Q4 of every year, so then everything's kind of set for the rest of the year, and I just focus on selling for Q1, 2, and 3. But this is a great opportunity to get to everything that we weren't able to get to before. So because there's always projects in the back burner that you always want to get to. It's really just making sure you get to it. I'm a huge proponent of Trello. I love Trello, and it's like a little to-do list. I love checking things off. So if you're that type of person, I highly suggest using Trello, and everything that you ever thought of that you wanted to do, I have a going list of it. And I just start checking things off whenever we complete it.
So we run our entire podcast on Trello. So we're big. So for everyone who's listening, Trello, probably for most people's needs would be free, although there are upgrades. But essentially, it's a visual sort of project management, sort of task manager type of system where there's a visual component that is really powerful. Developers use this. So if you've ever been to a developer company or company with developers, they usually have a giant board with all these sticky notes everywhere, and then they're moving sticky notes all over the place. And essentially you can do the same thing with Trello. And there's a visual thing that just cements it to me that is missing in a lot of other to-do list systems. So I'm a huge fan of Trello.
Yes, or sometimes they're overcomplicated. I don't want to call any app out, but it's just like this is just simple, really simple. It's like literally, you're right, having a sticky note and then moving it around. And I hate paper. That's actually another thing. When when the iPad came out, I never printed out showing sheets at all. I always downloaded the PDF into my iPad, and then I just would go out with that because I hate having paper. The fact that my kids are homeschooled right now, and I have to print like a crap load of paper is really annoying.
Yeah, utilize technology. It is your friend, right? And this is a great time, as Amy said, to look at the assets. Look at your marketing, assets. Look at your listing presentation. Look at your website. Look at all of the things that that maybe normally you don't have time to do. Now's the time to focus on, revamping the listing presentation or start with little projects. And it's so wonderful these days too, is if you go, well, I'm not a graphic designer, it's like, oh, don't worry, there's a million places online where you can borrow ideas and also even just pay for a listing. I mean, there are companies that will just build you a listing presentation if you don't have one for like $20, and it looks pretty good, and then you can customize it from there. So we're just so lucky.
Canva too.
Canva,
Canva.
Yeah, we do everything on Canva as well. If everyone isn't familiar, so go to Trello and go to Canva, Canva, and you can just make amazing Instagram posts with it. You can do all sorts of cool graphic design, and most everything on Canva is free as well. So we're so lucky to have these resources that really didn't exist 15 years ago.
No, I had to like, I remember printing out all these postcards and like sticking mailers on it and then, you know, mailing them out. It is just
Yeah,
so, I mean, there was pros and cons to how it was done before, but yes, we
sure.
have so many different tools and capabilities that we didn't have before.
Yeah. Well, Amy, I think this is a great place to wrap up. And I know how busy you are, even now that you're at home. You're a mother, you're a successful business owner, and also, of course, working with all your team members and your clients. So I wanted you to get back to your busy life. But for everyone who is listening, I want everybody to go visit Amy's website, because again, if nothing else, watch her video and feel how it grabs you emotionally, and use that as a guide for your own marketing efforts. But if you just want to learn more about Amy too, it's a great resource. So go to Duong Kim Global. That's Duong KimGlobal.com. Also, please follow her on Instagram, which is also Duong Kim Global. We'll be posting those links. Amy, thank you so much on behalf of the listeners for taking time to be on our show. We've been wanting to have you on for a long time, so this is a real treat for us. And also on behalf. Oh, I'm sorry, Amy. I completely forgot. If there is anyone out there who is a buyer, a seller, a renter, an investor, somebody who's looking for a new real estate professional and wants to work with you, obviously they can visit your website. But is there another way they can reach out to you directly?
Oh, should I give my phone number out? I don't
That's
know.
up to you, or you can give your email, whatever's
All right.
more appropriate for you.
Yeah, my email, amy.duongkim@compass.com. But yeah, I mean, my website is the easiest way. It has my cell phone on there as well. You can just contact me directly. I literally work all the time, which I love. I love working. So, and I think my response rate on Yelp is like 10 minutes. So,
Incredible.
I usually respond within 10 minutes.
And
But
I know if I was looking for a realtor, I would go, well, I would love to have somebody that treats my deal like it's her very own. So Amy did say that earlier on, and I want to hammer that point home, because I don't know if you would say that's the absolute biggest secret of your success, but I'll bet you it's right up near the top. So if anyone's out there who's looking for a new real estate professional or just doesn't have one in the Chicagoland area, Amy's a great resource, and you should reach out to her.
okay, thank you so much. It's so sweet.
Well,
So
we
I
appreciate you being on a part of our show. On behalf of the listeners, again, we do thank Amy for her time this morning. And also, sorry, this did not stream live on Facebook. The Zoom is having an issue with Facebook, probably with all the other Zoom meetings going on. But we're going to upload this video right now, and then we'll have the actual audio episode recorded or released in about a week or so. But on behalf of Amy and myself, to the listeners, we thank you for continuing to support our show and listening to these great interviews. And also, please tell a friend. If everyone out there just thinks of one other real estate agent that could benefit from listening to this interview, pass this over to them. You can find us and stream every episode we've ever done on our website, which is keepingitrealpod.com. Of course, we're on every podcast directory: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Pandora, everywhere. Just search for Keeping It Real. Also, please follow us on Facebook. Every single day, Zana, our producer, finds an article online specifically written to help real estate agents grow their business. And in addition to that, we post these episodes. You can even watch the behind the scenes videos of them as well. So follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. Amy, thanks again. And we will all get through this together. And I'm really excited to continue to watch your success.
thank you. Thank you for having me, and be safe, everyone.
Yes, be safe. All right, thanks.